everyone, and welcome to Transformational Tuesdays. I'm Teresa Velardi, your host for this time of inspiration, education, motivation, and conversation focused on key ingredients necessary for transformation. And today we are going to have a conversation that's going to be mostly educational. We are going to be doing some tech time. But first, I want to give a shout out to Lindy, who is part of my Ladies Tuesday night group and has been listening to the Transformational Tuesdays replays and has let me know that she's loving them. So for those of you who are wanting to revisit a conversation, be sure to go to transformationaltuesdays.com/replays. They are available to you both in audio and video format for you to re-listen and relearn whatever it is we talked about on that particular week. And they're all there. Right now, they're free, so they're all there. So go ahead and listen to whatever it is that you want to. But as I said, today's going to be an educational conversation. It's tech time, ladies, and we have Doreen with us, and we've got a really great conversation for you. And we're going to talk about keeping your computer safe and healthy. So last night I was talking to Doreen, and we said. We were going to talk about all things that were going to keep us healthy. And I was just like, for those of you who don't know me, I'm a Wizard of Oz nut. I love my favorite movie. So when she said she needed a little support in writing her paragraph, I just jumped up with the Wizard of Oz things, the lions and tigers and bears, oh my. So we've got viruses, malware, and clouds, oh my, hacking and losing my files, oh why. And the why to all of that is because your computer is not healthy. We're so focused on being healthy in all areas of our life, emotionally, physically, relationally, spiritually, financially, and now we're going to talk about computer health. So for those of you who don't know Doreen is my online business manager. She helps me to have everything looking great and working right in my Transformational Tuesdays and teresavelardi.com website, and also Daily Gift of Gratitude, which we are working on. And I'm giving myself a kick in the pants again, Doreen. I'm going to get my stuff to you. Your assistant is only as good as you are. You have to give her everything she needs. That's the one glitch in this whole thing. If you want to make a good presentation for yourself, you've got to create what you need to create in order for her to put it up online and make it look fabulous. So kicking myself in the pants again, Doreen. So I will just tell you a little bit about Doreen. After 23 years in corporate America, she retired in 2009. And throughout her stint in corporate America, she had the pleasure of being employed in the hospitality, real estate, accounting, and financial industries, spending 18 years of her corporate career in financial industries, serving different departments and companies. She's worked in legal and compliance, mergers and acquisitions. Definitely not murders and acquisitions, mergers and acquisitions, as well as collections. And she herself is very fortunate to have partnered with CEOs and top management of Fortune 500 companies, all of whom allowed her to continue to expand her skills and grow. Her extensive training includes office management, event coordination, social media strategies, implementation and management, author and speaker support, data research, marketing, project management, multimedia presentations, and so much more. Doreen is proud to be an active member and volunteer of many online and local organizations that support authors, coaches, entrepreneurs, and speakers. And if you would like to get more information on Doreen and what she can do to help your business run more smoothly, go to www.ambitions, that's AMBICIONZ.com, or email her at dharper@ambitions.com. And Doreen, welcome back to Transformational Tuesdays.
I love it. Thank you. It's, every time you read that, I'm like, I gotta shorten that a little bit. But,
yeah. Well, something. I was going to shorten it, but I have to tell you, the reason that I went through it is because your skill set is so broad. So for somebody who's looking for someone to work with who is got a particular skill set, if I don't mention it, it's like, it made me, oh, she can't help me because she didn't say she was for authors and speakers or whatever the case may be, or she didn't know anything about social media, which we know is not the case, but people listening may not know that. So I made the choice to go through your list of skills, so that people know that you know what you're talking about, whatever they might be looking for. So I'm excited to have you back here.
I appreciate that. I am too. And today's conversation is, Teresa hit it. We worry about everything else being healthy and in good standing. And the topic came about because I've got a client who was ready to throw her Apple computer out the window, and it's only 3 years old, and I'm like, whoa, if that was a PC, I might say okay, but an Apple is for longevity, and it just was that her computer was not healthy. And there are a lot of things that we can do to ensure that our computers are going to do what we need them to do, and they're not only running well, but they're also have you have the security that you need on your computer and on your system in order to do what you need to do in a safe environment. And that's what our computers are for. And nowadays, with all the hackers and everybody coming in, that makes us a little bit leery. So one of the first things that I'm going to tell you is, if your computer is not set up with a very strong password, change it. All right. And when I say change it to something nobody is going to ever know, numbers and words that mean something solely to you, capitalized, lowercase, add that $sign at the beginning if you're looking for that money, that's like that intent. Okay. Every time I type in my password, that money sign is there, and that means money's coming my way. Add that exclamation point in there, but make it strong. The stronger your password is, the harder it is for somebody to come into your computer or to get any of the other things that, may be online or any of those other things. So, and you can use a variation of the same. If you've got a strong enough password, you can use a variation of that password across all of your platforms where you need to put in a password, and then change it. I change all my passwords every year. Every year they change, all my passwords. And I do, and some of you know I used to work with Nordstrom, and whenever I would call the IT desk for something and I had to type in my password, they're like, that's a long password. How do you remember it? It's like, it means something to me. So take something that means something to you, add some numbers to it, add some extra characters in there, and make sure that you are securing your computer. The other thing with that is, when we have guests, we all have guests, and somebody might need to use your password. You can't be like me and tell them no, they can't get on your computer, because that's what I say, because I got all my clients' information on my computer. But set up a guest password, set up a guest on your computer. And that way, when you're put on your computer, if somebody says, oh, I need to come in, your grandkid comes in and decides, or your child comes in and decides that they need to go and print something or whatever, they're not going in underneath your login. And it's not them being the hacker or them necessarily doing something intentionally wrong on your computer. But that allows, if they go in and they download something that's got some type of spyware or something on there, then if you know you didn't do it, you can go into the guest login, and you can rectify the situation. Mm-hmm. So that's all I'm going to say about passwords. But to me, passwords are very important, and having a really good one is particularly important. So
well, let me ask a question while you're talking about passwords. Is it smart for us to store passwords on our computer? Like, there's a app. I'm working on a Mac right now, but I also have a PC, and it'll always ask me, do you want us to save your password for you, or do you want us to create a password for you? What's your opinion on both of those?
Later on, I'm going to talk about a password. I use LastPass. There's several different ones out there. They're free and everything else. Never save your password to your computer. Always save it to a password manager, because you're going to, one of the things we're going to discuss is clearing out your cache and your cookies on a regular basis. And when you clear your cache and your cookies on your computer, it's going to wipe out those passwords. All right. And then you're going to be like, oh, I didn't write that password down. What is it? All right. And a lot of these password managers that you can get online, there's RoboForm, LastPass, there's a bunch of them. I prefer LastPass. They have two opt-in authentications. You can ask them to create the password for you if that's what you prefer, and they'll create a really crazy password for you, but it's always there for you. LastPass and RoboForm can be used not only on a PC and a Mac, but can be used on a smartphone. They have the apps so that when you're on your computer, if you wanted to go in and when you're on your smartphone, if you needed that password, you can actually look it up. LastPass also has the ability to store notes securely for you. So your Wi-Fi information, if you needed to have it written down somewhere and everywhere. And Wi-Fi on an Apple, which I love, LastPass, will do your thumb imprint. So if your phone, and that's the only way to access it, that's the best security in the world, because your thumb imprint, your fingerprint imprint, if you don't have that activated on your smartphone, if it's a capability, do that, because that's another way people get in, to get your information. But LastPass has that authentication on there as well. But never, don't save it to Google, because I get Chrome always asks me, do you want me to save the password? I immediately say no. I've got a virus scan on my a virus software on my computer. It's called Avast. Now, LastPass, everything that I tell you has a free and a paid version. So every year, yes, I do, Lynn. I change my online banking passwords every year as well. And it doesn't it's not a dramatic change. I might change it to, whatever my long password is, and just do the year at the end of it. But it is enough change that it's not static, and it's not something that somebody could sit there and guess. And you could use variations. You could use your year of birth. You could use, there's a lot of different variations of numbers that you can put on, but your password should definitely be lowercase, capital case, numbers, and special characters. Yeah, definitely should be all of those.
Sometimes there are some, not to belabor this, but sometimes there are sites that do not allow you to use special characters, except for maybe a dash or an underscore. What's your recommendation on that?
Use the dash or the underscore where you find it appropriate that you'll remember it. Mm-hmm. Because what happens is when a hacker comes into your computer to look at, when they're trying to figure out your password, they're using a password algorithm to do it. For instance, I manage a lot of WordPress sites, and I've got security on those WordPress sites. And if somebody's trying to get into the site, I'll get all these messages. They're not getting in because the password is so strong, but they're using a password generator to try to get in there. Awesome. And so many people make their passwords so easy. They do 1, 2, 3, whatever, and it's just for them to remember. Or they may do, my husband's a huge Cowboys fan, and I had to get him out of this. Every password he had was Cowboys only. And I was like, put numbers in there, do something with it. You can't, anybody who knows you is going to be able to know, all they got to do is, start typing either your mother's name or your favorite, favorite team or whatever like that. You want to make it difficult, but on the same course, make it something that you yourself are very comfortable with and you're going to remember. And then once you have that long password that you're comfortable with, just changing a number here or there once a year will make it very easy. And I do it by the year. So, I have this complicated password, and at the end of it, I've got the year, and then I change it every year.
Okay.
Great that's advice. The best way to do that. Yes. But I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I'm going to show you just quickly. I'm going to show you some of the applications that we just talked about, and one of them is going to be LastPass.
Okay, so for those of you who are on the phone, just know that there is going to be a replay available of this in video format as well, and you can find it on transformationaltuesdays.com and also on our YouTube channel. So be sure that you go ahead and visit the replays on this so that you can actually see the screens that Doreen's about to share. So, okay, Doreen, go for it.
Just bear with me 1 moment.
Hardbound notebook on all computer. I actually have, Teresa, funny you should ask that, because there are times when I forget to engage my, if I've changed the password, or if I had told my computer to store it and I didn't put it into my password manager. I have a little book, a little tiny book that I can throw in my purse. It has all my passwords that I may need in it. So I make sure that I have something physically that I can use, but keep it in a safe place, where not by your computer. Keep it in a safe place.
Yeah, and I have to admit, I completely recommend against it in the digital age. We've all got our cell phones, and if we're storing them in some type of password manager, again, I use LastPass, but there's so many. There's RoboForm. You're going to have to choose what works for you and what best fits you and what works for you, because this is LastPass, and I'm just showing you the inside of it. But if I go to launch it, there's an authentication behind it. I have to actually give it another password. Just because I'm in here doesn't mean that I can see it. So if somebody's gone through the first layer, they still have another layer that they've got to go through. And the other thing with using something like this online, not only do they have the mobile apps, they've got the browser. So this right here is my LastPass here too. So any place that I've gone online that I want to save, I can get it. If I've saved it to LastPass, then it's going to come up and it's going to find it for me. And I'm going to do this through sign out Dropbox, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So because I have LastPass on my computer right here, this little thing right here will say, okay, which one of these Dropboxes do you want to go into? And then it will ask me again, just because I've chosen it, to go ahead and verify what my password is. And then it's going to give me my password and everything else and allow me to sign in. All right, so it's a couple of steps, but it's steps that are necessary to make sure that your computer is safe, to make sure that your computer is in integrity with you, so to speak, because you want to make sure nobody's going in and especially on banking, like Lynn said, you don't want everybody to be able to go into your bank account or any of those other things. Stuff like Dropbox may not mean anything to anybody else, but for me, this is where my client stuff is stored. This is very sacred to me. I don't want anybody else getting into my Dropbox account and being able to see everything. So that's, having a really good safe word manager, a password manager, and not saving them to your computer is very important. So we're going to move past passwords, but if anybody else has any questions on them, please, by all means, ask me.
Yeah, put them in the chat box, please, and we'll address them as they come up.
Okay, so there's a couple of things on your computer, though, to help your computer not run sluggish that you should be doing, or you should have set to automatic. If you go into your Windows administrative tools, there's 2 items on here that are very important. I'm sorry, it's Windows Administrative Tools. Your disk cleanup. You should be running a disk cleanup on your computer every 2 to 4 weeks. Because every time that you go and you download something, every time your computer does an update on something, your computer saves those temporary files. And every time you open up a document, it saves a temporary file. Every time Excel eats memory, until you reboot your computer, it's sitting in there. So you want to do the disk cleanup. And it's very simple. Again, it's underneath Windows Administrative tab. It's called the disk cleanup. And what it's going to do, it's going to tell you where you can save gigabytes of space and memory. How many people, just by a raise of hands, do the disk cleanup on their computer on a regular basis? Very good, Lynn. Okay. Depending on the last time you do it, it may take a little bit for it to do, but what it's doing, it's running through your system and it's saying, oh, these are temporary files. Oh, these are, you might have error files in there that need to be cleaned up. If your recycling bin is full, it's going to pull up those recycling. It's going to say that your recycling bin is full. And at the bottom, once it's finished, it will give you, I've got a lot of stuff running, so it's going to take a few minutes. There we go. At the bottom, it will give you how many disk space that you're going to save. And you can click offline websites. You can click every last one of these and clean up your computer very easily. See, you could tell I do this on a regular basis, but right here, temporary internet files. For someone who doesn't do this on a regular basis, this number is going to be huge. I have gone in here at times and I've forgotten to do my disk cleanup, and I've saved myself about 3 or 4 gigs of space because I've forgotten to empty my recycling bin, or I've got a lot of programs that are in the temporary files here. Like I said, each time you open up something, you get a temporary file. All you've got to simply do is say, okay, delete the files, and it's going to automatically go in and delete the files. Anything that's pulled up in disk cleanup is safe for delete. Just so that you know that. You won't do any harm to your computer by going in and doing this. And you don't have to be, oh, do I need that file? Do I need that file? No. Anything that comes up, it's not gonna put any system files in that disk cleanup. It's just gonna put files that are not necessary for your computer.
And Teresa asked something about CCleaner that revived her computer. Is CCleaner or admin better to use? Lynn asks. What's your opinion on both of those comments?
CCleaner, well, I will tell you, any type of program that's going to clean your computer means that you've not done any. If you do the regular healthy checks on your computer and you've got the proper stuff stored on your computer, you're not going to need a program like CCleaner. Now, if you've not done it and your computer's running crazy and everything else, you might need it. But, I try very hard to stay away from any of those type of programs, only because then you're having to guess, okay, do I need this? When was the last time I did that? If you regularly are worrying about the health of your computer, then you're not going to need a program like that.
Okay.
Okay. And that also goes to, a lot of us when we're on the web and we see something and we say, oh, it's free, we're going to download it. Mm-hmm. All right. Be very cognizant when you do any type of downloads and any type of execution of files on your computer. I'm going to give you a very prime example. I use Skype with a client, and Skype needed to be upgraded. And when I upgraded Skype, a lot of people just tend to go next, 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 and they hit it and they don't read. Well, Skype wanted to change my web browser to Yahoo, wanted to have me do Bing, and you've got to literally uncheck those boxes. Or now when you open up your browser again and you're thinking you're going to Chrome, if that's what you use, and you're using Chrome and your automatic page is Google. Now you're going to go Bing and your automatic page is Yahoo. So make sure when you're downloading anything that you're reading those first couple of next screens are vital and very important. A lot of times too, when you're getting something free downloaded, it's going to want to add something to your computer, and it's going to tell you it's adding it. They don't just add it. They tell you that they're adding it unless you uncheck the box.
Okay.
So make sure that you're doing that as well.
And as far as keeping your computer clean, just like anything else in your life, it's better to be proactive than reactive. So be proactive in taking care of your computer and your devices that access the internet, particularly.
Absolutely. Now, there's one other program that Microsoft has on their systems. And now I will have to say, if you're working from a Mac, Mac is much more secure in a lot of things than the PC is. That's a sad sad thing to say, but it's a true thing to say.
However, it still gets malware. I had
It
a circumstance where I had to actually call Apple and have them walk me through deletion of a piece of malware that was severely persistent. So Malwarebytes, I'm sure you're going to give us this information, is whether you have a Mac or whether you have a PC, it is effective on both.
Yes. Well, there's one more Windows administrative tool that I want to make sure that everybody knows, and that's Defrag.
Okay.
All right. So you should be, and you can set your defrag to happen. You should be defragging your computer weekly, and you can, that is also found under Microsoft Administrative Tools, and it's called the Defrag tool. And what Defrag does is it optimizes your drive. Every time you delete something from your computer, it saves it makes a space on your computer. So when you're constantly deleting, or when you're adding programs and everything else, your computer has got pockets of space that it can't do anything with, because it's not all together. And so what a defrag will do, and I'm going to do an analyzation, I don't know how long it's going to take, but what a defrag will do is it will analyze your hard drive, and it will go in and look at all of those blank spaces, and then it'll start moving files for you and condensing all of that down together, so that now you've allowed your computer to start working smart again. Okay. Again, defrags mine is done weekly. You can schedule it all within here. You can change your settings. You can do it weekly. You can choose what drives you want it to do. If you've got several different drives on your computer, like some people may have an external hard drive on their computer and everything else, you can tell it what you want it to defrag, and you can also optimize your computer here. And that's the same thing. Is once it analyzes the computer and it tells you where all of the free space is, then I'm going to be clicking on the optimize button to have it defrag the computer. You don't have to be around. Your computer has to be on, but you don't have to be around for it to go ahead and defrag. And so it's telling me I've only got 1% fragmented on my computer. So I do this every week, which means that 1% fragmented just means stuff that I've recently deleted or I've moved off of the computer and everything else. So defragging your computer weekly, automatic set it, forget it, and it happens on its own, but is very vital to your health as well.
Okay. Lynn asked a question about Adobe and updating versus upgrading. What is that? And that, by the way, is how I got the malware. I updated, clicked on something to upgrade Adobe on my Mac, and it dumped a piece of malware in there that was creating a problem. So Doreen, how can we discern what is an actual Adobe upgrade or update versus something what I did?
Okay, so I'm going to take Skype for example. Skype sent me this little thing here that said Skype has got a new version. All right, I didn't click on try it now. I went up to the tools, and all of them have help, and every software has a help, and I said check for updates. And when I checked for updates, it brought me the update that was necessary for Skype. Never click on a link that's there.
Awesome.
I'm not going to say that they're bad. I'm just saying to avoid.
Mm-hmm.
Go into the actual application, the actual software. Go to the help and say check for updates. You know,
Okay.
And the difference between an update and an upgrade. Let's just say for Adobe is now on 11, or no, I'm sorry, Adobe's on 13, and you have 11. An update just means that they're giving you security updates and everything for 11. An upgrade means that you're paying to upgrade it to 13.
Okay.
Okay. So those are the two things on your computer that you can do regularly that is a part of everybody's operating system who actually runs Windows. Okay. Now, everybody has their choice of antivirus software, and you can use whichever one you prefer. I will tell you McAfee and Norton both slow your computer down drastically, and they block a lot of things that are necessary for your computer. And I have always, even though that they've come on computers, I've always said no to them, and I use Avast. Avast does have a free version. I use the Premier version. You always get what you pay for. You know, I like to let people know that it's free, but you know, when it's the health of my computer, I'm going to pay for it. And you should always have a very good oh my goodness, software on your computer that's going to protect you from viruses, and one that you can manage. And when I say manage, so let's, and a lot of times there's software that won't go onto your computer if your antivirus software is running. So I can manage my Avast. I can say, turn it off for 10 minutes, disable it for 10 minutes while I do this shield. And I won't have to remember to turn it back on because it's going to turn it back on automatically in 10 minutes. So I can manage this. I can look at the performance of my computer if I wanted to. I could do a cleanup in Avast. You could do, you know, they've got the, you can run an antivirus scan on whatever you need to if you think that your computer has got a scan. So you want to pick an antivirus software, one that you understand how to manage, because the software alone on your computer is just not going to work if you don't know how to run the scans, look at the scans, put things in the virus scan chest and delete the chest so that they're off of your computer, you know, and one that is going to be friendly to your computer. Like I said, McAfee will slow you down because McAfee will run a virus scan when it wants to run a virus scan, and it does. And if it's running its virus scan, you can't do anything else. And that's just from trial and error using McAfee. I know you can't do anything else. I can run a virus scan with Avast and go and do whatever else I need to do, and I don't see the performance in my computer dwindle as far down as you would with Avast and with Norton and McAfee.
I
you
agree.
know, but
there are also other things that you can get through Avast, like
online protection,
right? Virtual private network.
Virtual private network, yeah. Avast is a very, it's been around for the last 10 years or so, because I've used it for about that long, and they're constantly building, and it runs its scan automatically. You can set it up to run its scan too whenever it needs to. It will update the virus software regularly as well. It'll alert you if for some reason your computer is off and it did not get a chance to update the virus definitions, is what it calls it, so that you can go in and update the virus definitions. But whatever your choice is, make sure you have a antivirus software on your computer and you understand that antivirus software, because again, it's not going to work on its own. You got to understand how to make it do what you need it to do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And now we'll go to malware. And malware is very much different than viruses. Malware is little pieces of junk on your computer that will pop up and try to do ads and advertising, and it's all in the wrong area, and it'll tell you to download this or you need that when you really don't need it. Malware is annoying, is what it is. And I use Malwarebytes, and I'm going to pull up the page for Malwarebytes. Malwarebytes is not free. They've got protect one PC at $39.99, or you can protect 3 PCs at $59.99, and that's an annual plan. But it works. It is amazing. It will you can run their initial scan, get all of the malware off of your computer, and then it runs its own scan just like your antivirus on a regular basis. If you come to a website that's got malware on it, it's going to come up and tell you that site has malware on it. You know, you've got the option to move forward if you want to, but at least you're being notified that that malware is there.
Didn't they used to have a free version of this? There used to be a free version of this, yes? Or maybe it was a free trial. Maybe it was a free trial. Oh, okay. Yeah. And yeah.
I don't think that there's a free version of it at all. to be quite honest. I've not found one. I've never used the free version of it. Avast has a free version, but Malwarebytes doesn't.
Okay.
So, again, we make sure when we go out and we do everything for ourselves to stay healthy that we spend the necessary money. If it's something that you need to spend the money on, spend the money on, because it in the long run, it will, PCs generally last 3 to 4 years. If you treat your PC correctly and treat it right, you can extend that out to 5. Seriously, I've had PCs that I've had for 5 years. What you'll see, because if you go onto a computer that's newer, you're going to see the processing speed and everything else. But as far as being able to use the computer and everything else, if you're treating your computer right, you should get your money's worth out of the computer. And treating it right is protecting it.
Yes.
Okay, so the next thing. A couple
of questions here in the chat box, Doreen. I'm going to keep referencing this, though, make sure we cover everything.
Okay.
Going back to the defrag for a moment, can you do that while you're on the internet, or is that recommended to be done when the computer is just not being used for anything else?
You can do it while you're working. I wouldn't be going on the internet and everything else, but you can be, say you're doing a document and you're working in a document and you run the defrag. I personally run the defrag. It automatically runs about 2:00 in the morning. Okay. And that way I know I'm not on the computer or whatever. And if I am on the computer at 2:00 in the morning, then it doesn't really matter, but that's generally the time that I'm not on the computer. And so, I'm going to dispel a myth, because a lot of people think that they need to turn off their computers.
That was the other question.
Yeah, no. In actuality, your computer stays healthier when it's on. You should shut your computer down once a week, reboot it. If you're like me and you've got the automatic software updates happening on your computer is going to automatically shut down either Tuesday night or Wednesday morning anyway. All right, because once it does the regular updates, it goes ahead and it restarts your computer. But every time you turn off your computer, your electricity goes through the computer. One, if you've got a 2-piece system, it's going through your monitor, and all of that stuff hurts our computer. So leaving your computer on is great. If you've got a laptop and you decide to close the lid and put it in sleep mode, that's fine. But in order to run some of these processes late at night and keep it all up, keeping your computer on is very fine. The only thing that I would suggest is make sure that you have a screensaver. My computer automatically locks at an hour, I think, if I'm not using it. And the screensaver will come on, or it'll go to a blank screen. That's so that your image doesn't burn into your monitor, which the newer monitors, that doesn't happen the way that it used to, but it's still a good idea to have something moving on your computer. Mm-hmm. But definitely, if you've got a place for your computer to be on and stayed on and just the screensaver to come on, use it that way. It also preserves your fan. Because when your fan gets turned off and on, it's just like we're going to take a light bulb. When you keep turning the lights on and off, on and off, on and off, eventually it blows. So think of your computer that way.
Okay. All right. So what I want to do here, Doreen, because we're 20 minutes to go here, and I want to give people on the phone an opportunity. If you have a question to ask Doreen, I know you can't see the screens and whatnot, but if you have a question on anything we've covered so far, press *9 on your phone. It will give you, it'll show that you're raising your hand, and I will recognize you to answer your question. Okay. So. All
right. So, I just have one more thing that I really want to go over as far as the health of your computer, and that's our files. We all, we work, all of us diligently. We do tons of stuff, and our computers aren't meant to last forever. You should always have some type of cloud-based application that you're syncing up to. And what that will do, I'm going to take Dropbox, for example. Dropbox holds all my files, so I can go to any computer that I need to, and I can access any file that I want to.
And your phone, too. You can
On
access
your
it
phone
from
as
your
well.
phone.
Android and Apple. But here's the thing, is I don't have one document on my any of my computers. None of the space that I use on my computers is used for documents. None of it. And the reason because the more that you have on your computer, the more it slows it down. Okay? So if you've got tons of files and Dropbox has a free version for 1 gigabyte, and for $99 a year, you can get up to a terabyte of space. You can push files up into the cloud that you know are going to be safe and that you can access at any time, but that don't sync down to your computer. And then you can have files that actually do sync into your computer, but they're not literally, you'll never lose them. So let's just say you get a blue screen on your computer today because you just really did something crazy. Your grandkid came in and spilled water all over your computer. If your files are all on your computer, you've lost everything. Everything. Okay? So always using some type of cloud-based a file manager is great. You've got Dropbox, you've got you could do Google Docs because you can upload docs into Google Docs. The only thing I don't like about Google's is sometimes you lose formatting. The formatting isn't the same when you go up and down, up and down. Dropbox is they're literally just holding your file. You've got A Drive. Microsoft has their version, and it is called OneDrive. And I will tell you, you will be paying for the space for all of those, but in the long run, your computer is going to be happy because it's not loaded down with files, and you're going to be happy in the event something does happen to your computer and you have all your files and they're not lost.
So Apple has cloud-based storage too. So like on my Apple products, I pay for additional storage space because they only give you a small amount of storage space. This is particularly important for people who use their phone to take lots of pictures. Takes up a lot of space on your phone, and it takes up a lot of space in the cloud-based storage that they have. So I think I pay 99 cents to get an extra 5 gigabytes of storage for my phone for anything that I have on here, because this is like a mini office to me. All my Dropbox files are on here too. I can access my Dropbox files on here. They're not on the phone. They're actually accessible from the phone. So there's a lot of things that are available. Barbara asked, let's talk about Apple products for a second, because Barbara runs all Apple products. Is there anything special, any comments you can give her about security or cleaning things up? She does have a malware app. And I know what Malwarebytes has an Apple version, and Adobe has an Apple version, and there's a lot of different things that have Apple versions. What can you offer as far as security, especially with Adobe? People for whatever reason, they like to send those little messages that you talked about earlier. And if you don't do your homework and go to your actual Adobe file and find out whether or not they do have an update happening. And like me, it was malware, and I didn't realize it was malware. My son says to me, "Mom, what are you thinking? You know all that stuff is malware." I didn't know it at the time. I know it now. So, what kind of security can you recommend for Apple products?
Unfortunately, I am not aware of anything for Apple, and that's only because I'm not an Apple user. I'm sorry. A lot of the things that we discussed, malware definitely has the ability for you to use it on an Apple. I'm not sure about Avast though, but the other things that I suggested that you do on a PC, as far as keeping the files online and be very cognizant of what you are actually putting on your computer and everything else, that's going to be across the board. The only two things that are very specific to Windows would be the defrag and the cleanup. And Teresa, maybe me and you can address this in our blog once we have a chance to look at your Apple to see whether they have something similar on the Apple product, because
Absolutely.
I don't have a Mac here
Absolutely.
to know. But, everything else is pretty much across the board on all of your systems that you're going to want to do anyway. Like I said, being cognizant of what you're downloading and uploading. Make sure you're checking off boxes that don't need to be checked.
And
I just wanted to...
God bless you. And here's another thing, Barbara. I mean, Apple has great customer service. And if you call them and ask them that question, because I couldn't figure out how to get my Mac running the way that it was before I made that little mistake. And they walked me through actually the download of the application that I needed in order, the Malwarebytes application I needed. They checked everything. They'll go remotely into your computer and check everything for you. So the customer service for Apple, I can't say enough about it. I've had an unbelievable experience in terms of how great they are. Want me to open?
I agree,
Barbara.
I have to say, I absolutely agree. I mean, all my other products are Apple. I've got the iPad, I've got the iPhone. They're all Apple products, and I know that if I ever have an issue,
just call them.
Just call them. But not only they honor their warranties on their products too. So if it's within the time frame of your warranty, it's free. If you've gotten the customer care package when you purchased everything, it's all in the scope of what they're going to do for you. And then there's a charge afterwards for any conversation that you have with them.
Barbara, you had a question?
Yeah, they're really good, and I've never had a problem. I mean, this is a testimony to my Apple products. I've never had a virus or anything like that creep in. I had a problem one time, Doreen, like what you said about not looking at what you're checking when you're doing an update or whatever. So that I got a little bit screwed up there. They helped me to go in and find the files to delete that and know how to do that. And you can keep people off your computer very easy with Apple products. And I really haven't had malware issues or anything like that either, which has been great. If it slows down, it seems to be something that Apple is doing. And then they make an upgrade and you upgrade. I think that's the most important thing, is to talk about keeping everything upgraded.
Absolutely.
Because that's where the magic is. And they are a very closed society and they manage it. But there's a lot of user groups out there. And if I had a question, I just type it into the internet and I find out exactly what's going on. And usually there's so many techie people, they tell you exactly how to take care of it.
Yeah.
But their customer service actually through Apple, the Genius Bar and everything, has just been phenomenal. So I just wondered if there was anything special or, something that I should consider, but I think I'm good. I'm pretty good with it. So.
Yeah, that's my next dream computer, is an Apple. I won't lie. But every time I go to look at the price of an Apple with everything that I need on it, it's like, it's PC time again.
Yeah.
Because I do so much on the computer that I'm looking for the highest end of everything, the most space, the most this, so it's like, no, the Apple's just hasn't gotten to my grasp yet, but everything else is Apple.
Yep,
Everything
yeah.
else is Apple.
Awesome.
But
Thank you.
You're welcome. I wanted to show you how Dropbox looks inside, because this is like every file, everything that I have, and I currently, like I said, I've got like 80 gigs of documents and stuff in the cloud, which if I had on my computer would really just slow me down and do everything else. I even put all my exe files. So if I've downloaded a product, and a lot of people are like, when we change over our computers, and you need to know where that exe file is. I put it in the cloud. Once I've installed it onto my computer, it's in the cloud now, so that if I ever need it again for whatever reason, and then I keep that little I keep my serial number in my LastPass vault, and now if I've got to put it onto another computer, it's there, unless it's something that's so old that it's not going to work anymore. But that's another reason why a cloud service is so important for you to have.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's, because these files are always going to be what you need. A lot of times back in the day, they would tell you, oh, back up your computer and back it up to, say, a drive that's external hard drive. But the problem with external hard drives, they're just like our computers, they go bad too.
Yeah. So, and here's, I use Dropbox all the time. Doreen and I have everything, all the information on Transformational Tuesdays is in the Dropbox. Like when I have my list of people who are going to be guests on Transformational Tuesday, everything is in the Dropbox. All the information they send us is in the Dropbox so that either of us can access it at any time. The other thing about the Dropbox, like I said, we share folders. So this is really great for me, especially as an editor. Like if I'm working on files and I need somebody to look at something I've done, I could just drop that file into the Dropbox and they can look at it, and we can look at it actually at the same time, and I can make the corrections that are necessary. Google Drive also allows you to look at things at the same time as well. So it's really helpful. If you put docs in Dropbox, how do I do version control?
Dropbox actually saves all your versions. Now it's not going to save the version onto your computer, but if you go up into the cloud into Dropbox, you'll see the latest. If you click on a document, let me just see really quickly here. If I've got one that's really active, that I can do that too. But it will give you the last change and everything else.
Like when I update Word documents, it gives the time. There's a timestamp on a Word document that goes into Dropbox, and it'll tell me, like if I'm working with somebody on cover design. Doreen and I are doing cover design for somebody right now on a book, and she may have changed the cover, and today at 1:30. And if it hasn't synced to my computer just yet, the version that she has is actually in the cloud. I can go to my online version of Dropbox, see her work, and then allow it to come down onto my computer. It will sync. There's a little button that you can push to resync all your files so that what you have on your computer is absolutely the very latest version. Is it automatically updated as you write it? Yes. In the cloud, yes, absolutely. Yeah. As soon as you click that save button, it saves to the cloud.
And here's the other thing that I love about Dropbox. You can work on the folder on your computer, on the file on your computer, and you can be offline. And the minute you go online, it updates it online.
Yes. Yes.
And the other thing is that they forever show all your deleted files. So anything that you've deleted in the past, it's going to be deleted, but it's hidden, but you can go retrieve it if you accidentally delete something that you shouldn't have. Dropbox is really great. I have been using Dropbox for the last 6 years.
And it's so inexpensive. You can get a terabyte of space for $100 a year.
Yeah.
A terabyte of space. You have any idea how much space that is? It's ridiculous. What's that, 100 gigs? Doreen, 100 gigs of space. There was a time when I bought my first computer, the thing was, well, it's got 6 gigs of space. You'll never use all that. Oh, one file today can use 6 gigs of space. A video file can use that amount of space, but we've come a long way. And the other thing is that, Doreen, talk about for a second, as we're on Dropbox and the cloud versus having it on your computer. Now, because I have Dropbox saved on my computer, it takes up a lot of space. Is there a way to keep all the files in the cloud and only get them when you need them, rather than have everything synced to your computer? Is there a way to do that?
You can actually say what files you want to sync onto your computer and what files you don't. And it's going to be in the little tool for Dropbox. So if you click on it and you
can you show us?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. Hold on a second. Oh, I want to share again. I don't know because this is sensitive. Let's see. Settings. I'm just going to find it really quick, guys. Okay. Okay. You guys are gonna have to tell me whether you can see this Dropbox little menu here. Yeah, here we go. So, oh, where's my Dropbox menu? Just had it, there we go. I just need to move it over a little bit. So you can do selective sync, and it will and it will sync whatever folders you want to sync. So I would create, maybe you might want to create, see here, you can say stop syncing.
Okay.
So all of them are checked. So when they're checked, if you uncheck it, so maybe create an archive file. And in the archive file is where you're going to keep all of files that you don't necessarily need right now, and you dump them. And I suggest you dump from your computer. So, so Teresa, you've got all of your files. So say you're on your Dropbox, you create archives, and then you just move the files that you want to archive in there. Don't copy, but move them in there.
Okay.
Then you're going to go over here to the selective sync, uncheck that archive folder once it's uploaded all the way up into the cloud, and then it's no longer going to sync that file. You can delete it off of your computer, and now it's only in the cloud.
Awesome. Okay. Muy fabuloso, boy. All right. So, as everyone, is there anything else you have with us for us today, Doreen?
No. Our next call will be on collaboration tools, and for those who work with teams or need to, if you've got an assistant that you're working with, I'm going to show you some tools that you can use that's going to better your life and make it easy for you to disseminate information, whether it's to clients, to whoever you need to disseminate the information to. Dropbox will be a part of that discussion, and I will go further into details on Dropbox because it's a great collaboration tool. But that's going to be our next conversation, which will be on May 30th.
May 30th. Yes. So mark that down. We're going to be talking about Dropbox, A Drive, some other collaboration tools. For anyone who has watched a replay of Transformational Tuesdays, I use A Drive to store all those audio files. And there's so much more that we're going to cover on the next Tech Time. Doreen, thank you so much. You bring so much value to Transformational Tuesdays. Your knowledge is ridiculously, ridiculously good. And everybody, Lynn is saying thank you so very much. And so is everyone else. I see head shaking. Yes, about when I said you bring so much value. Yes, you do. So there's if there is something, knowing that we are talking about collaboration, if you were working in an office or a virtual arena where you may have people that work with you but are not necessarily, you can't hand them paperwork or whatever the case may be, and you need to get files to other areas, I want you to really consider any questions that you might have about collaborative programs that are available for you on the internet, available to you on the internet, like Dropbox. Do you have questions about that? A Drive. How can I use A Drive? Do you have questions? Whether it be whatever you feel like you need for you and your team, and you don't know what to do at this point, write those questions down.
I got the perfect thing for you. Teamworks. They've got a free Teamworks. They got a free version. They got notebooks in there. Teamworks will be a part of the collaboration tool that I talk about next time too. So I'm going to talk about online storage space that you can share files with, but I'm also going to talk about true collaboration tools such as Teamworks. You've got Basecamp, all of those other things that you can use. And there's free versions of these if you use them correctly that you can use to work with other people on.
Yeah. And they're awesome. They're awesome. Yeah, writing a book with someone else. Yep, collaborative writing tool. Absolutely. There's stuff out there. And Barbara, I can share some things that you can use with what you're doing right now beforehand. But Doreen and I use these tools all the time. Teamworks is great. When I write my blog, I write it in Teamworks. She then takes it, she posts it to the account, to the website. She pretties it up and posts it to the website. So I give her the content and she puts it up there. Particularly if you have other people, like what I just described, someone does one portion of a project and someone else does another portion. Teamworks is excellent. Basecamp is also excellent. The other thing that I think we should talk about is mind mapping tools that we can utilize. So if you want to write that down, there's a couple of different great mind mapping tools. When you're working on a project with a team and maybe you're on a Zoom platform and you need to know what everybody's going to be doing and what their tasks are going to be, or what the project is going to look like when it rolls out. You can create your mind map, put the assignments into Teamworks. This is going to be an incredible conversation next time we do Tech Time. So make sure you put May 30th on your calendar. Okay, Doreen and I are actually going to be together in Memphis for this one, so I'm excited about that. I'm going to Memphis on the 20th of May. I'm speaking at an event, and we're going to talk about multitasking for purpose. But I have a surprise in the end.
Karen's on the call too. Karen's going to be at that event.
Yes, and Karen's going to be there. Yes, Karen's going to be speaking at that event as well. So it's going to be Old Home Week in Memphis.
There we
so
go.
I'm excited about that. Yes, Karen. Karen, I can see, sometimes I can only see the top of your head the way that you have it. So anyway, yeah, it's awesome.
There you go. She's listed it.
She listed
But yeah,
that. Yeah, she listed that. All right.
And I'm going to remind everybody, I bring a topic to the table, but if there is a topic you want to discuss, if there's a question that you have, visit transformationaltuesdays.com. Go to the Contact Us page and absolutely submit your question. And if you submit it in time enough that I can get it answered, I will, in between whatever the topic is we're talking about, we'll answer that question then as well. So, we're bringing topics to the table that we think are important, but only you can say what you really need. So if there's a tech question that you have or a tech topic you want to discuss, by all means, suggest it so that we can put it on the calendar.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Any final words, Doreen? Any final questions from anyone before we go?
No, I hope everybody enjoyed today's conversation. And if you do have any follow-up questions, by all means, like I said, visit Transformational Tuesdays and send them our way.
Absolutely. Okay. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Appreciate you all being part of Transformational Tuesdays. And until we meet again next time, enjoy traveling what I like to call the transformational trails of life. See you next time, everyone. Have a great week.